Matt Safer got his hands on the 911 tapes, and Matt, all joking set aside here, this is actually a pretty serious problem for police getting calls like this.
Right, it really is, and I want you to think of it like this. If police are responding to the subway here off Atlantic Boulevard because the guy is upset about his sandwich, they're not responding to more urgent calls. Police say they get calls like these all the time, but this one was particularly absurd.
Jacksonville 911 Williams.
I got a situation over here with Subway sandwich shop.
Okay, so what's going on there?
Well, I ordered 2 sandwiches, and I asked for everything on one sandwich, and the other one I asked for certain things on the other sandwich. I didn't get what I paid for.
This is what Reginald Peterson considers an emergency worthy of a 911 call. He didn't get mustard and mayonnaise on his 2 Subway footlongs Thursday night.
I'm not going to sit and pay $12 or $10 for some sandwiches and don't get what I paid for.
Everybody thinks it's funny, but, I mean, when you get down to it, it's serious.
Subway's manager tells me employees were so scared over Peterson's behavior, they locked the door on him when he went outside to call 911.
I'm on the phone with you. The employee just came up here and locked the freaking door. And I got both of the sandwiches they did not make right for me inside the store.
Now, cops say it wasn't enough that Peterson called 911 once. He called it a second time, complaining that police were taking too long to get here.
Then he calls the 3rd time, and he wants to know where the police were.
So we got your call 15 minutes ago, okay? So you're just going to have to be a little patient.
So tying the lines up to talk about a sandwich is totally absurd.
When police did show up, they say Peterson was so out of his mind, they couldn't even talk to him. He was arrested so police could go back to handling real emergencies.
Security's first. People's health is first, and so they could have been called somewhere else that they were needed instead of being held up here.
Now, managers here at the Subway tell me they would have gladly remade Peterson's sub, but he was acting a little bit too belligerent for them. That's why they wound up locking him out. By the way, he's charged with a first-degree misdemeanor, and according to the sheriff's office, he could face almost 1 year in prison for making these false 911 calls. Reporting live on the South Side, Matt Safer, CBS 47 News.
Matt, did they determine whether this guy was on something? I mean, to make such a call?
They think he was sober. They actually, I asked the sheriff's officer just that, and they said no signs of alcohol, no signs of drugs, just a little upset about the sandwich, Mark. You won't hear sirens outside Homeland's police station. Instead, it's the sound of cutting.
We've had a tree down periodically, different times, but not anything this severe.
Homeland's mayor says it's been more than 15 years since he's seen damage like this in this small town.
We're without power. We're officially closed because of it till we get restore power.
These crews came in from Brunswick to relieve the electric workers who've been at it for hours. How bad is the damage?
It's pretty bad.
Pretty bad?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. I know the local crews worked all night long.
Most were without power here in Homeland since around 8 Monday night, and it didn't come back on till afternoon. It's been a hot, sticky, hard day of taking out tumbled trees. But even as this one falls, city workers know there'll be many more to cut down.
We've got a lot of cleaning up to do because we've got trees down all over town.
I just spoke to the mayor probably about 5 minutes ago, and the power still is not on here at the police building, but he says he hopes to have it on sometime by tomorrow. And if you could believe this, we actually found 2 women here in this city who claim they almost died because of this storm. One of those women was in a car right by this tree that you're looking at right there. She was inside of her car when a tree fell on it. Another woman was inside of her home when a tree fell on that. You're going to hear from both of those women coming up, all new at 6. When we went to her house to try to talk with her, we found 2 very different sides of the same story. Is Christy here?
No, she is not.
Even though Christy McDowell wasn't home, I told the family what deputies say she did. Slapping and beating her son until he was bleeding, all because he threatened to get rid of her pills and marijuana. It was a cruelty to children's charge that Christy's facing.
Oh, no, it was not. It was a teenager being cruel to his mother.
The gentleman who answered the door didn't want to give me any details about exactly what happened on the inside of that house, but he did show me some marks on the 13-year-old's brother he says proves police got the investigation wrong.
Hit to his brother, and he tore up his little brother yesterday, too.
Really?
Yeah, and he was manhandling this one, too, so you've got everything wrong.
Do you want to clarify it? I mean,
no,
I
don't know exactly, but you said cruelty, but that's not
exactly. I've got the police report right here that plainly says.
That's not what it was. So.
I know, but if you're saying that's not what it was, let's talk about what it actually was.
We're not making any comment at this time. Thank you very much, and have a great day.
Off camera, the family told me the 13-year-old has a history of violence. We headed to the shop to find out why they never got the proper paperwork. How long have you guys been here?
About a year.
Okay, and you did not know that you needed salvage permits to do this kind of stuff?
No, sir.
Who told you that you didn't need any permits?
Well, I don't deal with the paperwork, so I'm the wrong guy to talk to.
Is the right guy here?
No.
The store's manager tells Action News since they were raided, they've stopped salvaging cars and only do service and sell parts. They say they're doing all they can to make sure this open sign doesn't say closed permanently. You're working to get all the permits and everything situated.
And that's going to take some time.
The sheriff's office tells us no charges have been filed yet against this business, but they say it's going to be handled administratively. Lifeguards don't typically pick up trash, but what they scooped off the beach could put you in the hospital.
They're very, very dangerous.
This is a Portuguese man o' war. Its venom is so strong, it's been known to kill people with severe allergies.
If you get stung, it will literally scar your skin for a couple of months afterwards. And it's very excruciating pain. It feels like somebody dumping a bucket of boiling water on you.
Oh, it's so gnarly. Even with a protective glove, picking up one of these guys is not only tricky, it's dangerous.
I had to glove up just to touch one of these things, and it's not the body portion that's the problem, but take a look at how long those tentacles are. You can be 2 feet away from this thing and still get stung by it.
I can feel it stinging me a little bit through the glove.
Lifeguards say they'll be patrolling the beach, scooping up as many of these as they can. They say if you see one, stay away. Probably the most interesting thing I learned today about the Portuguese man o' war, this tentacle right here, it can remain active for days. Even after one of these things is washed up on shore and is dead, you can step on it, get it stuck on your clothes. If water touches it, it'll get reanimated and you could be stung by it just sitting watching TV. So if you see one of these things, definitely get away from it, notify a lifeguard to come and pick that thing up. Do not touch it. Paige, let me take you right up to the apartment right now and show you what we're talking about. It's that corner left-hand unit. Police took 4 kids out of that unit right there, one showing definite signs of abuse. The second one, police are investigating if they were abused as well. This Spider-Man toy looks innocent enough, but on the inside of this apartment, police say a 4-year-old was stuck in a web of abuse.
It was disgusting, and I never thought that it would go on like that with a little 4-year-old boy.
Neighbors like Sheila Odom remember seeing police arrest Teresa Kravick and Shakonda Tillman. She also remembers her heart sinking when she saw that 4-year-old boy.
The little boy showed him about how he was tied up, and it was stuff in the little boy's head.
Police say while the child was here, he was tied up and burned. He actually told police when he was bad, hot water would be poured on his head.
Oh, see, I didn't know about that. But it's bad. It's real bad.
The 4-year-old escaped Tuesday. He fell down this flight of steps naked. Then a 14-year-old helped him to safety. That's a rescue even a superhero would be proud of. And speaking a little bit about a superhero, guys, I tracked down that 14-year-old. This is Joshua Smith right here. He's the young man that found this little 4-year-old. And I spoke with your mother, Josh, who basically just said that there was a lawn care guy who was here who saw this kid and left him there naked. You saw him naked, and you decided to step in and help. Why? This is exclusive video of that SUV driver being taken to the hospital. It's hard to believe she was the only one hurt after witnesses told Action News what they saw.
I've never seen an accident like this before.
The electrical just lit the sky. Made the day more interesting.
Alan Dahlberger owns Suncoast RV.
It's like a bomb, and it knocked over the travel trailer and demolished 3 cars.
This woman says the SUV's driver sideswiped her car just before the crash.
She was coming over in my lane, and then I was just trying to blow the horn, you know, maybe that'd wake her up.
The crash also cut off the power and snarled traffic. Without lights, nearby businesses like this bread company couldn't make any dough.
So yes, we lost business because we couldn't open up.
After about 90 minutes, the power was back on. And in the middle of all this chaos, we discovered a 2-wheeled miracle. This motorcycle, smack dab in the middle of everything, wasn't even touched.
Not a scratch. Some oil splattered on it. That was that.
How do you explain that?
I don't.
The driver of this SUV only suffered minor injuries, if you can believe it, with all the damage. She was taken to an area hospital. Police say it looks like a medical reason maybe to blame for this crash. Reporting on the south side, Matt Safer, Action News. Angelina Bueller knows tragedy. Thursday, her home in Live Oak burned down. Friday, she moved to this home in Lake City. And one day later, the screams of her neighbors burned a little girl's name into her mind.
No, I didn't even know her name until afterwards. Brooklyn.
On Saturday afternoon, those screams were coming from a mother and father who just pulled their 18-month-old out of their pool.
Everything. Oh my God, please somebody help us. You know, why my baby? I would say probably the typical things you would hear a parent holler when their child got injured.
Bueller never did CPR on a real person, but seeing the baby forced her to help.
And she was absolutely not responsive. She was already blue. She'd been without oxygen for way too long already. She had no pulse when I got up there and started CPR.
Like dozens of children every year, 18-month-old Brooklyn Buchanan became a drowning victim. Her mother tells deputies she answered a phone call and looked away for no more than 2 minutes. The doors of her home were locked, but deputies believed Brooklyn followed the family dog out of the doggy door. What would you say now to that family if they were here right now?
I tried. I did the best I could, and I'm sorry that they had to lose her.
Bueller's help wasn't enough, but it was enough to show a family that neighbors care and leave the lasting impression of a little girl's name on a neighbor she never met.